You're 30 years old and you just realized you're broke. Not the fun kind of broke where you're 23 eating ramen, ironically, and telling yourself you're finding yourself. The actual kind of broke where your high school friends are buying houses and you're avoiding eye contact with your landlord because rent is 3 days late, again. Now, here's what makes this moment uniquely terrifying. You're old enough to understand compound interest, but young enough to feel like you should still have time. You're scrolling through financial advice that tells you to invest in index funds when you have $43 in your checking account. The math isn't mathing, and every birthday cake feels like a countdown timer you can't pause. But here's what nobody's telling you. The reason you're broke at 30 has almost nothing to do with your daily coffee habit or your Netflix subscription. Those aren't the problem. The problem is that you're playing a game where the rules changed 15 years ago and everyone's still handing you the old instruction manual. Let me show you what I mean with actual numbers, because this is where it gets infuriating. In 1990, the median home price in America was roughly 2.9 times the median household income. By 2010, it climbed to about 3.6 times. Want to guess where we are now in 2026? Try 5.8 times. Your parents bought their first house on a salary that would barely cover your rent today. They entered the job market when a bachelor's degree was a golden ticket today. It's the baseline requirement for an entry-level job paying $58,000. But don't let that number fool you. Adjusted for inflation and housing costs, that $58,000 has roughly the same purchasing power as $28,000 did in 1990. You're making middle-class money that provides a poverty-level lifestyle. The boomers love to talk about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, but they were wearing $12 boots in an economy where entry-level jobs came with pensions. You're wearing $200 boots you finance because you need them for the 3 interviews you have this week, none of which offer benefits. So when some financial guru tells you that you're broke because you're undisciplined, I need you to understand something. You're not undisciplined. You're playing against a stacked deck while everyone's pretending the game is fair. Your 20s were supposed to be for figuring things out, making mistakes, traveling maybe. Instead, you spent them trying to survive an economy that treats your labor like a commodity and your housing like an investment vehicle. Student loans that were supposed to be your ticket to prosperity became an anchor. The side hustle you started because your job doesn't pay enough became your second job. You're not lazy, you're exhausted. And now you're 30, looking at your bank account, wondering how you're supposed to catch up when it feels like you're running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. But let's talk about why 30 is actually the perfect age for this wake-up call, because this is where the story shifts. Your 20s were for learning. You learned what jobs you hate, what relationships don't work, and probably that buying a timeshare in Vegas at 2 a.m. is a terrible decision. All valuable information. But your 30s, this is your earning decade. This is where you finally have enough experience to be dangerous and enough time left to let compound interest do its thing. The mistake most people make is treating being broke at 30 like a character flaw when it's actually just a math problem. And here's the thing about math problems. They have solutions. First, we need to kill the advice that's keeping you stuck. You know that whole thing about cutting out lattes and cooking at home to save your way to wealth? Complete nonsense if you're starting from broke. If you're making $45,000 a year and spending $43,000 saving the extra $2,000 isn't going to change your life. It might buy you a slightly less stressful February, but it's not building wealth. When you're broke at 30, you don't have a spending problem. You have an income problem. Every piece of traditional financial advice assumes you have discretionary income to optimize. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, there's nothing to optimize. You need more money coming in, period. This is the part where the Dave Ramsey disciples start typing angry comments. So let me be clear. I'm not saying spending doesn't matter. I'm saying that when you're at zero, nickel and diming your grocery bill is rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. You need to plug the hole in the ship first. The real strategy, the one that actually works when you're starting from broke, is what I call the gap strategy. Your only job right now is to widen the gap between what you earn and what your ego demands you spend. Notice I didn't say what you spend. I said what your ego demands. Most people get a $5,000 raise and immediately move into a $400 more expensive apartment because that's what successful people do, right? Wrong. That's what broke people do. Successful people get a $5,000 raise and keep living like they're broke for another 24 months while they attack their actual problems. Here's the brutal truth. If you're 30 and broke, you need to live like a broke college student for the next 2 years. Not forever, not as a lifestyle, as a tactical sprint. Because in 2026, there are more ways to increase your income than ever before in human history, but only if you're not hemorrhaging every raise into lifestyle inflation. The landscape has changed in ways that actually favor you if you're willing to see it. We're living through the largest wealth transfer in history, and AI tools have made skills that used to take years to learn accessible in months. Remote work means you can arbitrage your labor. A company in San Francisco will pay you California wages while you live in a state where that money actually means something. But here's what nobody tells you about opportunity. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It shows up when you're still scared, still figuring it out, still not sure if you're qualified. The difference between someone who's broke at 30 and someone who breaks through is just whether they moved when the door opened or stood there wondering if they deserve to walk through it. Your real problem isn't the money you don't have today. It's the decision you're about to make about the next 10 years. So let's talk about what actually changes the game when you're staring down 30 with a bank account that looks like a rounding error. The skills arbitrage window is wide open right now in ways that would have seemed impossible 5 years ago. In 2021, if you wanted to learn video editing, you'd spend months watching tutorials, maybe shell out for a course, practice for a year before you were competent enough to charge money. Today, you can learn the basics of Premiere Pro in a weekend using AI tutors that give you personalized feedback, then use AI tools to handle the tedious parts while you focus on the creative decisions clients actually pay for. The skill acquisition timeline has collapsed. What used to take 18 months now takes 6 weeks if you're focused. But here's where people screw this up. They learn the skill, then immediately try to compete with people who have been doing it for a decade. Wrong move. You're not trying to be the best video editor in the world. You're trying to be the best video editor that a local real estate agent or a small business owner can actually afford and access. That's a completely different game, and it's one you can win in 90 days. I know someone who went from broke bartender to making $6,800 a month doing video editing for local businesses. Not YouTube creators, not agencies, local businesses that need simple, effective content for their social media. She charged $400 per video, 20 videos a month. Took her about 3 hours per video once she had her systems down. And the math works because she wasn't trying to compete with the $5,000 per video people. She was competing with the business owner's nephew who said he'd do it for free and then never delivered. This is the leverage point nobody talks about. You don't need to be world class. You need to be reliable and competent in a market that's starving for exactly that. Remote work changed something fundamental about geography and money. If you're making $55,000 in San Francisco or New York, you're effectively poor. That same $55,000 in Tulsa or Pittsburgh or basically anywhere that isn't a coastal city, you're comfortable, you can save, you can invest, you can breathe. The arbitrage opportunity here is insane, and most people are ignoring it because they're attached to living in expensive cities for reasons they can't articulate when you press them. I'm not saying move to the middle of nowhere and be miserable. I'm saying get strategic about it. Plenty of cities have good food, decent culture, actual winters and seasons, and rent that doesn't require a second job. Find a remote position with a company based in a high-cost area, move somewhere affordable, and suddenly that $65,000 salary is worth $90,000 in purchasing power. The math is simple. Your income times your cost of living equals your actual wealth building capacity. If you make $80,000 but spend $75,000 to live somewhere impressive, you're broke with better restaurants nearby. If you make $60,000 and spend $35,000, you're actually winning. Ego is expensive. Freedom is cheap. Now let's address the thing that's probably bothering you. You're thinking, Nick, I can't just uproot my life and learn new skills and move cities. I have obligations, I have relationships, I have a lease. Yeah, you do. And in 10 years, you'll still have obligations and relationships and a lease. The question is whether you'll also have options, or whether you'll still be stuck choosing between paying rent and fixing your car. The gap strategy isn't about becoming a minimalist monk who lives on rice and beans. It's about making a tactical decision to freeze your lifestyle at your current income level for 24 months while you aggressively increase what you earn. Every dollar of that new income goes toward three things in this exact order. 1, eliminating high interest debt. 2, building a $2,000 emergency buffer so you stop getting hit with overdraft fees and payday loans. 3, investing in assets that compound. Most people do this backwards. They get the raise, upgrade their life immediately, then wonder why nothing changes. The gap stays the same, the stress stays the same, they're just stressed with better furniture. Your competition isn't other broke 30-year-olds. Your competition is your own future self who didn't make the hard choice right now. That version of you is 35, still renting, still stressed, still saying, I'll figure it out next year. Every day you delay is a day that person becomes more real. The actual wealth building happens in the gap. That space between what you earn and what you spend is your factory. That's where you manufacture freedom. A $500 monthly gap invested at 8% for 10 years is $91,000. A $1,000 monthly gap is $183,000. That's not retirement money, but it's I can take 6 months off to switch careers money. It's I don't have to tolerate a toxic boss money. It's options. And here's the part that makes this whole thing click. You're not sacrificing your 30s to live like a broke college student forever. You're doing it for 24 months, 730 days. You can endure almost anything for 730 days if you actually believe it's temporary and purposeful. The people who fail at this are the ones who think it's a permanent lifestyle. It's not. It's a sprint. You keep the cheap apartment, you skip the vacation, you drive the paid-off car that's ugly but reliable, and you focus every spare dollar on widening that gap. After 2 years of this, something shifts. You're not just earning more. You have assets working for you. You have skills the market values. You have a buffer that absorbs emergencies without panic. You're not rich, but you're not fragile anymore. And that's the real goal at 30, not wealth, durability. The alternative is spending the next 10 years hoping something changes while doing the exact same things that got you here. Luck isn't a strategy. Hope isn't a plan. The math is cold, but it's also honest. Widen the gap or stay stuck. Those are your options. Let me be honest with you. Most people watching this are going to nod along, feel motivated for about 90 minutes, and then do absolutely nothing. They'll go back to scrolling, back to complaining, back to the exact same life that brought them here. And in 5 years, they'll be 35 and broke, watching a video titled, "If You're 35 and Broke, Watch This Immediately." Don't be that person. The difference between the people who escape this trap and the people who live in it forever isn't intelligence. It's not luck. It's tolerance for short-term discomfort. The people who win at 30 are the ones who accept that the next 2 years are going to be weird. Your friends are going to judge you. Your family is going to ask why you're still driving that car. You're going to feel left out when everyone's posting vacation photos and you're meal prepping chicken and rice for the 4th week in a row. That discomfort is the price of admission. You're paying it now or you're paying it forever. Choose wisely. Let's talk about what actually changes your situation, because I'm tired of the vague motivational garbage. You need 3 specific things to happen in the next 24 months. First, you need to increase your income by at least 30%, not through inflation-adjusted cost of living raises, real income growth. That means you're either getting aggressively better at your current job and demanding recognition, or you're shifting to a higher paying field entirely. Second, you need to keep your fixed expenses frozen at today's level, not reduced, because that's unrealistic for most people, just frozen. Same rent, same car payment if you have one, same phone bill. Third, every dollar of that new income gets funneled into the gap. No exceptions, no rewards, no, I deserve this. You're in crisis mode, act like it. Now here's the uncomfortable truth about income growth that nobody wants to say out loud. Your current employer probably isn't going to give you a 30% raise. They're not. They'll give you 3% and tell you it's generous. You're going to have to make them uncomfortable or leave. The data is clear on this. People who stay at the same company for more than 2 years earn 50% less over their lifetime than people who switch jobs strategically. Loyalty is a scam in 2026. Your company will replace you in 48 hours if they need to. Stop treating them like family. The fastest way to increase income at 30 is to become valuable to the market, not to your boss. That means you're building skills that transfer. You're documenting your wins, you're networking like your life depends on it, because financially it does. And if your industry is dying or capped out, you're learning to code or getting into sales or figuring out AI workflows or doing whatever the market is actually paying for right now. Sentimental attachment to a dead-end career is expensive. Some of you are thinking, but Nick, I have kids, I have a mortgage, I can't just pivot. You're right. You can't pivot as fast as someone without those obligations, but you can still move. Slower is better than static. A 15% income increase over 2 years is still better than zero. The trap is using your obligations as an excuse to do nothing while watching your situation slowly deteriorate. Your kids are going to suffer more if you're financially stressed for the next decade than if you're hustling hard for the next 2 years to fix it. Stop hiding behind responsibility when what you're actually doing is avoiding discomfort. And let's address the psychological block that kills most people at this stage. You're 30. You thought you'd be further along by now. You're embarrassed. You're ashamed. You don't want to admit to yourself or anyone else that you're struggling, so you fake it. You spend money you don't have to look like you're doing fine. You finance the lifestyle you think a 30-year-old should have. This is the death spiral. Your ego is more expensive than your rent. The people who win are the ones who get comfortable saying, I can't afford that right now, without shame. They're the ones who drive the paid-off car and live in the small apartment and focus on the scoreboard that actually matters, which is net worth, not perception. Nobody's coming to save you. Your parents can't. The government won't. Some imaginary future windfall isn't happening. It's you, the gap, and the next 730 days. That's the whole game. Let me give you the actual math of what happens if you execute this. Let's say you're making $50,000 right now and spending $48,000. You have a $2,000 gap annually. That's not enough to build anything. You're one emergency away from credit card debt. Now, you increase your income to $65,000 over 24 months through a job switch and a side hustle. You keep your spending frozen at $48,000. Your gap is now $17,000 per year. In 2 years, you've banked $34,000. You've paid off your high interest debt. You have a $5,000 emergency fund. You have $29,000 invested. You're not rich, but you're not fragile. You can negotiate. You can take risks. You can breathe. That's the difference between being broke and being okay. It's not millions, it's a buffer and momentum. The alternative is what most people do. They get to 35, then 40, then 45, always thinking next year I'll get serious. Except next year never comes because the strategy never changes. They're hoping for a different result while running the same code. That's not optimism, that's delusion. If you're 30 and broke, you have a decade to fix this before it becomes permanent. After 40, the market gets harder, your energy drops, your obligations increase, the window is closing. This is not a drill. You're going to remember this moment, either as the time you finally decide to stop pretending and start building, or as another video you watched while your life stayed exactly the same. The gap doesn't care about your feelings. It only cares about the math. Widen it or stay stuck. I want you to do something uncomfortable right now. Close your eyes for 10 seconds and picture yourself at 40. Same job, same apartment, same stress. Your friends have equity, you have excuses. Your nephew asks why you still rent. You tell him you're figuring it out. He's 12. He doesn't believe you. Open your eyes. That person exists in a timeline where you did nothing after watching this video. The only thing standing between you and that future is whether you're willing to be weird for 730 days, not forever. Just 730 days of frozen lifestyle, aggressive income growth, and relentless gap widening. That's it. That's the entire game. You're 30. You have 3,650 days until you're 40. The math is simple, the execution is hard, but staying broke is harder. Choose.